Alright, Z Nation, it's DailyXander 335 on a Wednesday. Haven't done any updates whatsoever other than a little snippet where I'm just showing my face and Frank in the background reading, which he didn't even know that happened. What's going on? But it is another one of my favorite hobbies I love to do right now, which is doing podcasts and just filming and engaging with unique individuals and individuals that want to better themselves, at least for a lot of people I engage with. And today's guest is the powerful. Came up with that nickname over the weekend.
Yeah, you did.
The powerful Frank Perez.
Where did that come from, by the way?
I'll tell you about that.
Okay.
But,
okay.
I just want to say right now I'm very appreciative and grateful that you're willing to have a conversation and film and just give you time to do this, man. So I always enjoy it.
Absolutely. You find value in time with people that are like-minded. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Simple.
That's so true. Well said. So right now we're at a Starbucks here in Castleberry, part of Orlando, Florida. And it's funny. Literally, we just met up and Frank just said it about 5 minutes ago. Man, we were just talking for 20 minutes and it flew by like that.
Yeah,
I was dang, you're right, man. We should start podcasting right now. We should just start going into it. And nothing's gonna change. We're just gonna basically pick up where we left off. But even so, we were just commenting about a guy inside who Frank was noting after observing him, because who doesn't I would say it's vital to just be a human observer and understand human behavior. So you want to share what you've been witnessing with this guy?
Okay, so I come in here, so we're at Starbucks and I'm sitting outside, but before I was sitting outside, I was sitting inside.
Yeah.
I was reading a little bit, and I got up to get some coffee, and so as I'm waiting for my coffee after I ordered, I look back and a guy walks in, he sits down, he pulls the chair that I was sitting at and puts his foot on it to rest it as a footrest. So I'm thinking, oh, well, this guy over here, And then I see him, and it looks like he's mouthing lyrics off of the song that's playing inside. And then I'm like, all right, maybe he's just weird or something, right? And then he looks at me, he goes, "Thank you," but he doesn't mouth it. He doesn't say it. He just mouthed it he's And
so it was actually direct
whoa.
to you?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. So then I look at him again and I realize, oh, he's been talking to himself the whole time. Not exactly saying words, but just mouthing words into the air. So, so when I came outside, I noticed, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's he's the real deal. So he's
doing it right now.
Yeah, he's doing it right now.
We're looking right at him, he's looking the opposite way, so we can see him from the back. And
right? So when he was over there, he was standing outside for a little bit, and then he just walked back in. So every 10 minutes or so, that's what he's been doing. He'll sit in there, talk to himself, and then walk outside and then
Did he have anything with him?
No. Well, he had a cup of water. But so then he always the same thing. He grabs the same chair, he sneaks in his foot from the back and scoots it over closer to him and just hangs out. And then he's just drinking his empty cup.
Yeah, so something like that would be fascinating to understand. Do you think, we can't really make much assumptions, and it's never really good to do assumptions, of course, but do you think, in his current state of mind, how happy do you think he is?
I'm not sure. It's hard to determine.
Yeah, it's hard to determine, but if he's somebody that has that characteristics where they're talking to themselves, so what would you call it? If you're talking to yourself, I'm not senile.
Well, I would say anxious. Because depending on the way you're talking to yourself too, because right, you could talk to yourself self-talk is good, but he's having fanatic,
he's having a full-blown just conversation in his own head.
Right. Well, it's almost like he's not, in the same realm as us.
That's what I was saying. But if he's in a different realm, his happiness,
I don't know.
Does he even do people like that even recognize happiness? In a sense, they're just.
I think it comes to a point where it's almost primal. Is he comfortable? And if I were to answer that, he seems he's comfortable.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's in a nice little couch inside Starbucks, got the AC, calming music. And so that was my first thing was why is he here?
Yeah.
And how often does he come? So it could be just maybe this place has a distinct memory or something, or he just comes in every day. Sounds like one of those kind of movies,
it does.
You know what I mean? It's what happened to this person? But it's true. Everyone has a story. You don't know where they end up.
Everyone does have a
story. But I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I was sitting out here. It's kind of nice out. It's a little bit breezy.
Mm-hmm.
the trees are like starting to like lose a little bit of their leaves. So it's like, not that we actually get fall or autumn in Florida, but we do lose a little bit of leaves throughout some time. Yeah. And that's what I noticed. You have like this autumn feel outside right now. So there's like this like nostalgic sense in the air. So I could see how maybe somebody could feel comfortable hanging out here. I don't know. Can you see that? Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Ever since like where I've been living in Altamont Springs, I'm never home just because like I don't have Wi-Fi, but I always like to just go out and about. So I'm always at Whole Foods and Starbucks in Altamont Springs, and so like I see people there all the time that are always there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with just like not only is it like there's free Wi-Fi or whatever, but like people just enjoy like hanging out there for nostalgic reasons or
like who knows? Everyone has a story.
Everyone definitely does have a story. I think that's a perfect segue to lead into your story that we were talking a little bit about earlier. So I just want to share a little bit. Right when we met up, literally within about a minute, Frank wanted to show me his book consumption, or his books that he just bought recently from a new and used bookstore. Right there, we're promoting. The name of the business?
Bright Light Books.
Bright Light Books. We're not partners with them. We're not nothing with them. We're just Frank's just a happy customer.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Like when you show me your books, and I'll say it again, like that I said earlier. I had never really had like a conversation with somebody, and also somebody that's like read as many books as you have, and really excited about buying. You probably bought like 10 books or so?
I don't even know.
No, 10 books from that just today. Like,
yeah.
You bought like a bag full of books.
Easy.
And he just, like, Frank, you were describing like when you walked out the store, you're like, dude, I'm feeling like a G right now. I'm feeling like empowered. I'm feeling like a boss. You know? And I was like, dude, like, there's not many people, like, well, there's people out there that would say that too, but like, they're just, the average person, no average person would ever say that kind of thing. And there's reasons why, because they're just not on their mind. They want to continue to better themselves. But to go back to, just kind of sharing your story a little bit as far as like, we're talking about you buying these books and then going back to your early college years when you were taking 2009, which I was going to ask, what college were you going to?
So I went to a community college. I was not focused in high school at all.
Okay.
And I graduated with like a 2.9. It's like pretty bad for my family standards, but I went to a community college, it was Broward College in South Florida.
South Florida.
Yeah. So old college, been there since the 60s.
Oh, okay.
So it's interesting to find what I found. That professor was like, out of all places, you're teaching here. You know, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the professor you were telling me about, her last name was Rothschild. And when you told me that, in my head, I just lit up like, oh, Rothschild. That's like one of the 13 original, like, giant successful families, mega successful families in the U.S. And then I instantly asked you, like, did you know about the Rothschilds at that time? And you were like, bro, I didn't say bro, but I just said bro there. But you were just like, I actually didn't learn about the Rothschilds until like about a year or two ago.
A year ago.
And I was like,
a year or two ago.
It's not crazy, but I mean, it's just funny how like it never came across in any of your interactions with anybody or just like material or anything like.
I think it's just symbolic of like what I knew or what I didn't know at the time.
Just like areas you were focusing on.
Right. Absolutely.
Because like the brain operates off of like when you want to start focusing on something, then you start noticing it more often.
Yeah.
Whether it's cars or like you go back to outline your own vision, and then you write it out. Like then it becomes more apparent, and you start seeing it come to fruition. You just start seeing it around you, kind of idea. Like
it was general psych, so yeah, it was getting like general ideas of like how and why humans behave a certain way. So it was like the very beginning of that, like,
and that's probably like
mind opening.
That's probably like the foundation of just
the
like
end of adolescence, the beginning of adulthood kind of thing.
That's like just the foundation of starting to get into a practice of like self-awareness, whether it's self-awareness for yourself, but also just the self-awareness or the awareness around you. Like,
right.
What's going on exactly? Like let's take an observationist approach as far as why things are the way they are.
Right.
And a lot of times it's never on the surface of why. Like it's just because. It's never usually just because.
Never.
There's always reasons behind it. There's always connections. There's always actions that lead to other actions taking place.
And it's like motives, you know. Like everyone's motivated by something. Like to do, like if you don't want to do anything or nothing today, there's a reason behind it. Even though like that may sound like, oh, you're just being lazy, but there's a reason why you don't want, you know, or whatever it is. So it's like even in the things that it's almost like, you know, people say like we're never never actually still, we're always constantly moving, like no matter what. It's like it may seem like we're like, okay, even now we're sitting down, right? We're stationary and we're sedentary, right? We're just hanging out. But if you were to put a still frame and like see how much we move back and forth in rocks,
that's a good point. Yeah,
you know, like and like leave, like right?
Yeah.
So we're never, and then you know, have you ever heard of like how we're like every moment I don't know, there's a theory out there that we like move into the dimensions based off of like time, because we're never in the same constant dimension, like based off of, so like a minute ago, 2 minutes ago, 30 seconds ago, we just move through like different dimensions and like different like realities and different moments. Like a moment you're like, whoa, I felt a certain way in that very given moment. And like, you know how feelings are like they fade, they like they elude, they go away. And then like a very moment was like strong or whatever it was, and it goes, you know, like ebb and flows, you know, emotions ebb and flow. It's always in constant change and always in constant movement. So like you're constantly being, so we're talking about like you're chipping away, you're molding away and like becoming a better person. So we're constantly in a state of constant change. We're in a state of constant change always.
No, I'm on board with that.
It's pretty cool.
It's interesting just how you describe that, as far as going from one different feeling or dimension to the next. And like when you said that, I was thinking like, it is kind of interesting as far as like you feel a certain way, and then when you look, and then you have another feeling, but when you kind of look back on it, it's almost like it's kind of hard to recognize that specific moment of when it all of a sudden just shifted. It's like it's just like in the way how we operate it. It's such a smooth transition that you don't even recognize it a lot of times. Which is, well, at least right now for me, I don't recognize it sometimes, just because I probably you just open up an idea to me that I'll probably start thinking about more often with that, as far as like you describe it as dimensions or whatever the case may be. But or if you just pay attention, like the shifting of your emotions. Is
it emotions? Is it like your perspective, right? So like so we were just sitting a table over.
That's a good point.
It's like a different world over there compared to here. You know what I'm saying? And then so it's just interesting, like why is that the case?
Okay, we're gonna keep exploring this because I think this is gonna go much farther now. Okay, so we just shifted from that table over there to here. And it's offering this different perspective, and like that's like interesting now, because then we can just go and like that's like what photography is, or that's what like painting is. Like it's just a shifting in perspective. Like one small movement, and you get a different angle, like it has such a dramatic impact that it just makes it so much more special. Like how different do you think the conversation we're having right now would be if we just stuck at that table? Like what would be the avenue of this video podcast if we sat at that table versus this table?
Right.
Like it would have given us a different view, first off, of the person we were originally talking about right across. I could do it, but I'm not going to. But it's just interesting, man.
Just think, Doc.
Wait. Oh, never mind. He's not getting up. I thought the guy was...
Just think Back to the Future.
Yes.
Doc. That's exactly what it looks like. The hair and all. Refill on the water.
Refill on the water, yeah.
So he can make conversation. He just goes off tangents, I guess. Interesting. Anyway, how different would it have been? I really don't know, but I could say this. I was reading something about when you sit next to somebody versus when you sit across from them, it does change the dynamic in the conversation. So you go from like interview feel to like you're experiencing the same thing. So it's almost like you go from like you're like interviewing somebody, or you're maybe like you're on a date or whatever, but that's what they say. People say when you're on a date or when you're doing something together with people, sit next to them because you're gonna see the same thing. Because when you sit across, you see the exact same. You can see the opposite. Isn't that cool?
Okay,
that's pretty deep, right?
No, that's deep. Okay, because like, because I've gone on like a first date before, and because I connect well with people, like, even like if I go on dates, and based on what you just said, like I didn't even realize this until now. Like on that first date, like we literally just sat next to each other, and like I had a great time because of it. But also just how we're sitting next to each other, like I'm just realizing now, ever since I've always done podcasts like this, I've always sat right next to the person. I've never done like right across from each other. And like what you just kind of described there, like it could, especially when you just say like podcast, and then somebody would be like, okay, wait, you're going to interview me? Okay. And especially if you like sit across, and it already implies like, yeah, man, like, we're going to have a conversation, but I'm still sitting across from you, so take it as an interview sort of thing. And so that's because like, you just made me more aware of that as far as is communicating, and it just kind of creates like a friendly barrier in a lot of ways.
It does. And it's like, think of it like this. So